All right. So
One,
here we go, Lucky.
two, three. Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to thank you to another edition of AyAyAyAi, and I'll give it a little bit more energy. But I'd like to thank today Brian Chaney, who's here with us with ProLinkedLeads, and we want to bring the energy and also bring an understanding, a different area of AI. We've talked about NLP, GPT-3, stable diffusion, generative AIs, and machine language. Now, today we're going to bring a different perspective that only can be brought to us by Brian and his experience in this area of marketing. And so today we're going to go, ay, 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 ay. Asif, what do you got for us, Asif? What do you,
Ay, 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 ay. I love it, man. Because, Lucky brings that energy to the max. I love it. Look, we talked so much about AI and machine learning, and purpose of this podcast, purpose of us getting together on Wednesday night is to bring some light into the audience's ear about, well, how do you bring lights to somebody's ear? I guess you do.
right?
So
Just roll
it's
with it, yeah.
it's to introduce a new concept, new ideas, new industry, new use cases, anything new we can bring, right? We want to add value to the time people will spend listening to this podcast. And I've been following Brian for a while now, and I'm looking at Brian's activities in LinkedIn, and I'm seeing his presence, which is very strong in LinkedIn. So I want to bring Brian in and um, uh, hear about his industry, which is very exciting. So without further ado, Brian, how are you? And thank you so much, by the way, for joining us on a Wednesday, middle of the week.
Welcome.
Thank you. Ay, 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 ay. Is that good?
Yay!
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Is that racist? Am I gonna get in trouble for that? I
No,
don't know if
no,
I'm
no, no,
culturally
no.
appropriating something.
No.
Well,
I
every
can tell
language has
you.
a yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought it
Okay.
was
Oh,
great.
that's right. That's right. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. That was the white man's ay 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 ay.
excellent.
So no, I
By any
appreciate you
standard.
guys. I appreciate you guys letting me on and talking. I love talking about marketing. I love AI and just the doors that have been opened up because of it. And it's something that I'm sure we can talk about this some. Uh, the you know, 6 months ago, people weren't talking about it like they are now, and now everybody's talking about it. But there's still this understanding slash fear. Is it going to take my job? Is it going to make pizza for me? Like people just they don't know what's going on, but there is this awareness that there hasn't been in ever, right?
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk marketing and just how we use it and how the normal person can use it and um, just have a discussion about that.
Yeah, it's interesting how generative AI has really allowed the layman or users to be able to interact with AI, and then Chat GPT and the different forms of that have just
Hmm.
exploded, and now AI is not just a buzzword; it's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And so now, like we said, there's areas that we've covered that just are interesting, and but still, from the layman, we still want to know more. And then marketing is something that we all know, or we thought we knew, or we've heard, plenty of times. But I'm lost when it comes to marketing, and now AI on top of it. So
Hmm.
how does that work, or what type of problems do you solve, or can you just give us more on how that works?
Well, I think one thing that's interesting to me, kind of take a step back before we talk about that,
Yeah.
is the idea of AI is kind of like, I don't know if your parents, they're on Facebook and uh, somebody makes a profile with their face and they're like, I got hacked, somebody hacked me, and you're like, no, you didn't get hacked, you didn't get hacked, but it's like hacked is the something happened to my
Right.
account or whatever. And the same thing's kind of happening with AI, where everything's AI. If it's the AI this, the AI that, and um, so it's just interesting as we
Right.
learn as a society what this stuff is and what it actually can do. And but I think it's just funny. You got all these. I haven't searched before. What are the best AI tools out there? And it's coming up with stuff that's like it's just not AI. Zapier is AI. What stuff like that. So I'm sure you guys run into that a lot where people call things that are AI that are not, right?
Yeah. Well, I see. I
Yeah, I
think
don't know.
yeah.
I was laughing because when you put that hack and AI together, I was like, well, you're hacking what? Hacking AI? Oh, wait, this is good. This is a good comparison because we need this kind of discussion. We need this analysis to bring awareness to the facts of like
Yeah.
70% of .ai products in Europe were just not AI at all, right? They
Exactly.
put that AI in the name somewhere so they can get fundraising or like a startup seed funds, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right on point when you say some words just gets overused. Hack, right? Hack.
Yeah.
Somebody stole $5 from me. Hack. You know, just mislabel things, and
Yeah.
AI is all about labeling. You have to have precisions in AI in order to perform because those AIs are making decisions. So we want not only people to understand why AI is so important, we want people to understand that the AIs are making decisions on your behalf. So when it
Yeah.
does, you want to be able to reverse engineer and look into the black box, that hidden layer of AI, and understand
Mhm.
the intricacy behind it, right? And these intricacies are not really that difficult to find out, right? You just have to spend some time in it. So even if you're
Mhm.
not a subject matter expert, you should be able to research it for like say a couple hours and figure out that okay, whoever does develop this AI, they all pretty much follow these same guidelines, right?
Yeah.
Just the variation will be the data, right?
Yeah.
So not everybody needs to be an expert, but they just have to have that understanding. So when they communicate what's happening, they're able to communicate the right verbiage, the right process that are
Mhm.
being used, and then communicate their fear, their comfort with AI, right, or
Mhm.
their insecurities about jobs, right.
Mhm.
Well, I think it's very important that we label the correct terminologies, not in life in general, but
Yeah.
specifically when it comes to AI. Labeling is very important because that labeling leads into decision making, which is something that we will see more and more in coming days and months.
Yeah, and I think too as I kind of talked about some of the points I want to bring up, understanding not only what is and what isn't, but how it works is very important. And it's kind of I'm sure you guys have this experience as well, but a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, Googling was a skill, or it still kind of is,
Right.
but it's gotten smarter over time. But I could Google something, and my wife, who I'm very competitive with, would Google something, and I would find the thing first, right? Always, every time. Don't ask her about that. I would always win. But it is, you just know how to ask the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And AI, especially Chat GPT, there is an art to it that is more than just saying tell me this thing, right? You got to know how it works, understand why it comes up with what it comes up with, and then how to get it to do what you want it to do.
For sure.
It is in my experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a very valid point. I tested, and I've brought it up before. I tested Chat GPT responses, and I tried to see if it had any type of sentient or it had a conscious. You're just trying to see how human it is,
Yeah.
if it does respond enough to fool you. And so I asked it, what do you like to process more, text, video, or sound? And it gave a surprising answer. It said it likes to process sound. Well, actually, I said sound, video, or text, and it said it likes to process sound because it likes to analyze the fluctuations in the code to be able to tie that to human emotion. And I thought,
Hmm.
wow.
Hmm.
And then it gave reasons why I liked the others less than the other. And then so I said, well, wow, that was amazing. And I saved it and I thought, that can't be real. So I just switched the words. I put data where voice was. And then it said, well, I like data more than anything else. And it said why it
Yeah.
loved data more. And so at that point, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
struck out. And you start realizing the
Yeah.
algorithm. You start to see, oh,
Hmm.
that's how it works.
Yeah, and that's what's really interesting as you go through. just the different ways you can use these it as a tool for different applications. You've got to understand that, one, it's drawing from a collective base of knowledge. Also, you need to give it information. You need to tell it what things that are important to you, things that aren't important to you, depending on the application. And it's still garbage in, garbage out, even though it is doing some deciding for you, right?
Right. It's assisting at this point with your decision making.
Yeah.
It's not augmenting you totally, right? But it is an art still, like as in you're still the artist that's in charge of the last 10% that will make it total. So even
Yeah.
if you get responses from ChatGPT that will utilize for whatever reasons, let's say marketing promos or emails or marketing campaign steps that you're writing down, you as a subject matter expert, the artist behind all the work, the human behind all the AIs, you will have to be able to finish the job, right? So it's
Yeah.
augmenting and it's assisting, it's making your life easier. However you want to label it, at the end of the day, you are still in charge, right?
Mhm.
Once it gets to a point where the Lucky brought up the sentient part. Look, at this point, it's not an adult; it's a 6-year-old child that just babbles
Yeah.
word, but is very knowledgeable with whatever it's babbling, right? And
Yeah.
it will babble whatever makes you feel comfortable, you know. So it's a 6-year-old child at this point, and I mean that literally. ChatGPT, the OpenAI.com or OpenAI as an organization has been around since 2015. So they've been
Mhm.
training their large language models for a while, but it's definitely not 10, 20 years old at this point, right?
Yeah.
We still
Yeah.
have lots of language models that are actually, as old as those 10, 20-year-old large language models, right? We have those, but we are going to have to bring those together and merge it with ChatGPT and have ChatGPT capability grow over time as ChatGPT grows older and older, right?
Yeah.
Every month for an AI is almost like 10 years for a human, but that's
Mhm.
neither here or there. As long as it can perform to the level of where Lucky is comfortable enough to say, well, that is literally a human talking to me, right? And
Yeah,
that's the
that's
Yeah.
really
definition
cool.
of artificial intelligence. That's the labeling of AI. When a system is able to perform to the point that a human cannot differentiate between a system versus another human interacting, that's when you have an AI. And that's the Alan Turing definition of what an AI is.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when it comes to that, the large language model's ability to perform, I mean, the complexity is insane, right?
Yeah.
It's not just giving you a text because you put in text. It's giving you a code because you put in a text, right?
Yeah.
And its ability to compute that fast, right, is what
Oh
makes
yeah.
it so unique in 2023. Because prior to prior years, we weren't able to get to a prompt that's able to generate this much content in this short amount of time. That's the
Yes.
key difference in ChatGPT's capabilities versus all the other systems capabilities, right?
Yeah.
It's able to take your prompt and go through a giant banks of information, right, repository of information, and sift through it, and then tells you exactly what it is that you need to hear, right? Be
Yeah.
it coding, be it writing you a music, be it writing you a proposal, be it writing, I think,
Mhm.
Lucky put a letter with it, resignation letter. So
Yeah.
you just have all sorts of capabilities, but its ability to provide that in a fast pace,
Yeah.
to compute that in nanoseconds is what makes ChatGPT unique. And
Well, and
what happened is huge logistics behind it, but we're not going to get into it. We're just going to keep it to the level where we're going to discuss more about
yeah.
marketing.
Well, and one of the things one of the things that I've been doing, and I put something like this on LinkedIn, but every night I did this one time. So I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And one night, they love games, and so I said, hey, I've got two sons, Evan and Kaz, and I want you to tell me a story about them taking on a Mario boss. And of course, da 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 da, right? And the I did that one night, and then I use a text to speech natural language whatever you call it, and it reads the story. So Chat GPT writes it, the computer reads it, and my kids love it. They are just like starstruck that they're in this world that they love playing in. And but to that point, you do enough of those, and they all sound the same. because you need to say, okay, do this for me, like, make this more complicated. Tell me more about the battle. And so it is just a conversation that you're having to build out something that's actually pretty good. But if I were a writer, I would say it's 70% of the way there. But that 70% saved me a buttload of time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, we have a lot of fun with it, and again, like you're saying, it is being creative. I tell it, I want you to create a boss that has never been seen before in the Mario world, and it comes up, and I'm like, tell this fight in detail, and it does. It's amazing.
I
Is
must ask. I must ask.
yeah,
Did you use any
yes.
voice impersonation for the audio? Because I think I already have mine selected out for what audio or who the celebrity that will do the voiceover for any audio that I want to listen to. Do you have anything like that in mind? Like, you want your kids to listen to it while, I don't know who's going to narrate it. Maybe, I don't know, what celebrity? Shakira or something like that.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
Oh,
Yeah.
Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman is good. I was gonna go.
Yeah.
I go for Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, there
I
you go.
imagine that Samuel L. Jackson.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the one I use is a free one, and it's pretty good. But it, I tell people that it's ridiculous, but they love it. They love it. But so as we're talking about relating this to marketing, the big thing or one of the big things that you can use it for is content creation, right? And exactly what you're saying, it is. There's this meme that is so good that talks. It's two guys. They're taking a test, and one's kind of looking over the other's shoulder, right? And the one taking the test, it says the internet, and the one looking over the shoulder is Chat GPT, and that's literally like it is just all this information, billions of web pages that have been ingested, and so you've got to be really careful with what it puts out, that it's not plagiarized, even though it. I mean, you put it through something, and it's generally gonna check out. But it is borrowing other knowledge from these other sites, right? And so sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent there, but so I'll use it for content creation, and I even for this, I was like, give me some good use cases for marketing using AI, and it comes up with its list. As a marketer, as a content person, I can't take what it gives me and just use that. I could, but it was giving me stuff on here that like predictive analysis, cluster segmentation, just all this stuff that's like, that's probably good, but I know who I'm going to talk to and what we're going to talk about. And so maybe that gets me again 70% of the way there. I'll take 3 of those points. I'll add in my own, but overall it's saving me about an hour, right? So I don't know if I've been talking a lot, so I was giving you a chance to talk there.
Go ahead, Lucky.
No, that's interesting how it saves time, and how that works. I'm still trying to understand more how that works, and like when you're saying it, do you allow like it? Do you have a piece of it that like machine language that does a lot of that the statistical data analysis when you're talking about the clustering, or you're looking at the outputs of the data?
Yeah.
So
Like,
your data sets that you're running through like a data
that's
lake, or that I'm trying to understand how that works better, because I'm still new to this, of course.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about right there is more advanced than what the normal person would do. And I bring that up because it brought that up, right? It said here's something you could use me for, and the everyday person is going to be cluster like what data points, like how do I, where it's really useful at this stage, and I'm talking about at the lay person, the normal marketing person, the business owner, is basically idea generation. And so, for example, I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn, and I'll say, give me 10 post for LinkedIn on marketing or whatever, and it'll give it to me. And again, it's probably easier for you guys to explain, but
Mhm.
I have to train it to come up with better ideas, because it will come up with the same 10 ideas. Even if I say, give me 10 new ideas, it'll come up with 10 more that just aren't, they're garbage.
Mhm.
Unless I say, let's break this point down. Let's do
Right,
this,
right.
or,
Yeah.
make it more about this, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I want to hit on that meme you mentioned because it is super hilarious because
Yes.
the meme that went around where the guy was walking with his girlfriend and he would look back at another girl that was passing
Yeah.
by, right? I've seen a lot of those in ChatGPT world, and talking about like ChatGPT and internet, and everybody's like not paying attention to all the other large language models that's out there, like Google, for example, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody's looking at ChatGPT, but nobody's looking at Google for some reason, right?
Yeah.
But the best one is the one that you mentioned. Is that like this Greek philosopher type, wearing Greek clothes and looking over somebody who's writing things down. So the person who's writing things down is statistics, and person who's copying off of that writing is machine learning.
Yeah. Yep.
It's because machine learning is such a mislabeled concept, right?
Yeah.
But not as bad as AI, because AI is just between me and you, Brian, nobody else can hear this. AI is a terrible, terrible marketing ploy that is working out very fantastically, right?
Yeah.
Like it should not be AI. It should have been called something else. But AI caught on fire, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's okay with me, right? Because we can do so much with AI. But because we understand AI from a very satellite view, right? Not like a
Yeah.
bird eye view, but a satellite view. We understand AI differently, right? Everybody has different definition of AI. But machine learning is the same way. It's like, hold on a second, is it really machine learning? Like, what part of it is machine and what part of it is learning? Okay,
Yeah.
tell me more about the statistics, and then you lose people. They're like,
Yeah.
clustering. Don't ever bring up clustering. I have no interest. Shut the door and get out. So
Yeah.
those memes are effective and they're hilarious because just like internet and machine learning you mentioned earlier, it's like machine learning is really statistics. That's all it is.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
do statistics very well, you will understand machine learning much faster than somebody who's been in IT world and trying to understand what statistics is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you work backward, from statistics to machine learning, great journey. But to go from IT to machine learning, you got some learning curves to go through. And I want to hit on a point on this topic is because when you have use of statistics, right, and you have machine learning, then you have AI. All these are transitions. Like there's not, again, Brian, between me and you, nobody else can hear this, right? There is no AI. These are all machine learning, right? Machine learning is the key word. Data manipulation, matrix manipulations are far more actual news that we need to hear about, but nobody's going to go dig through news to figure out what matrix manipulation is, right? Data manipulations, these are the things that are happening actually. And when it comes to marketing, I want to give one perspective about LinkedIn, right? Like you're talking about that high level. Okay, that's something far deeper than saying, a generative product that anybody can use with a keyboard. If you have a keyboard, just plug that keyboard into a computer and start typing. Generative AI will do some magics for you. But when it comes to that algorithm on LinkedIn, it's that clustering. It's what's allowing you to do marketing, right? What you're trying to break is not the algorithm, but you're trying to get into the wheelhouse of that algorithm, where the clustering of you as a person, Brian, are able to reach that many people. So that makes you valuable to LinkedIn to keep you on their platform. And that algorithm was originally built by human eyes and now has been automated, right? As in that human eye that has looked at these clustering for so long and said these users should be rewarded somehow with activities around these users. So, when I put out like 8 messages, 8 comments, 8 something else, it does not exponentially grow because LinkedIn is not pushing my feed out to people to engage with, right? Not yet. I have great content. Wait, no, I do have great content. I'm confident.
You do.
And-
You do.
And
Well, and
LinkedIn
it's
wasn't that yet, right? It's waiting. It's waiting to see how does my exponential or my incremental growth happens, And when
Mhm.
it happens, at what point does LinkedIn pick that up and put that inside the cluster and have the cluster start turning? So I'll give you one observation, right? You will see a lot of LinkedIn content that does not add any value to your life,
Oh
but
yeah.
they have 300,000 likes, so many comments. You sit there and wonder, like, wait, hold on a second, whose life is being improved by this
Yeah.
content that LinkedIn is forcing this on my feed? I particularly don't want to see it, but it gives me an observation to say, like, it's not really me or my content how great it is. It's the algorithm's ability to pick you up as a provider, and that clustering is what that is, right? That ability to say this cluster comes with these many exponential growths. If you're not inside that cluster, you're not really in LinkedIn's priority list, right? Um,
Well, there are ways that you can manipulate the algorithm, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about before. Is there these are all, there's logic behind it, right?
that's right.
It's not just saying, man, I really like this guy, so he's going to be up here. Like, something happened, a series of things are happening that do that. And you think about, man, the worst garbage on LinkedIn is those like crying pictures, right? You know what I'm talking about? Where the guy's like crying and saying, "I just had the worst day ever." You're like,
That guy was, oh my God, he was all over the news.
yes, yeah, I had to fire some people, and that had like a million likes or something, and all these comments, and you can say like, how
Right.
why, but you think about, one, he probably posts a lot, two, that catches people's eyes, and so they're gonna stop their scroll and look at it. And if you get a lot of that in the beginning, LinkedIn says, oh, this is good content, let me keep this promoted. Because one of the things, when you post something on LinkedIn or Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, there's only so much real estate, right? So if everything you posted showed for everybody, that like they couldn't show any ads, like, there's just not enough room. And so the algorithm has to say, or has to find what is valuable, what's not. And unfortunately, the BS, like that crying picture, or another thing I've been seeing a lot is the, I lost my job, and if just one person would share this, maybe I could find one. And then it has like 20,000 shares, and but
Well,
that's a,
yeah, all trickeries. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it just, it's something that catches the eye and signals to the algorithm, this is important, people like this, show this more, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the 10 feed that you will view within a minute, right? That's a very, not precise, but very expensive real estate that you're
Yeah.
looking at, right? Because LinkedIn is not a $1 billion revenue generator just because it does the right things, which is to say,
Yeah.
everybody should really pay attention to this topic.
Yeah.
No, that's not how LinkedIn works. It works based on people's attention span and how
Yeah.
long they're able to hold on to those attentions, right? Um,
And
Now,
that's where,
it's good and bad, but
yeah.
I'm not saying anything really negative here. What the gentleman that was crying, I think he got the press, and he was the best example of best and worst of LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Because he literally got likes, but at the same time he got bought down a lot. He was like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is this is not something you do on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes, back to, if we're using AI to generate content. So you got like Jasper, you've got, there's another tool I really like called ScaleNut, is SEO oriented, or ChatGPT is, when if you want to do good content, that you don't do it by saying, hey, ChatGPT, write me 10 LinkedIn posts. It will do that, and they'll be okay. But when you post those, they're not going to understand the algorithm. They're not going to be popular because they don't have a story in it. They're not personal. There's all these things that
Right.
AI will get there at some point, or whatever you want to call it. But it's just not there yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I, I want to hear Lucky's thought on these. Like, do you think this social media aspects that we're talking about. I think you have that passionate voice, that wise wisdom of, hey, look, social media, cybersecurity, so the social engineering, all these topics. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Like these algorithms. What's your thought on these algorithms behind social media?
Well, I'm one of those that I avoided social media like the plague during my intense security career, where I was working really deep within, with the fields that I worked in. I just thought that social media was poison ivy for me, and so I was like, no way.
Right.
And then
Not
I
worth the
softened,
rush.
yeah, and then I
Mm.
softened up with my old age, and so that I would say about 8 years ago, I said, all right, I bought into it. So I have two profiles in LinkedIn. One is Lucky Rabago as a homemaker, and then one where I took it serious, and so they're actually still there probably. But
Right.
you know, um, I have a perspective of the fact that in the U.S. specifically, privacy is just sold, and it's not, it's not earned. It's to the I
Yeah.
guess to the highest bidder, and that's concerning, because at the end everyone's always worried about, how much information does somebody have on me, or do they have my information, and what
Well,
do they
and
have?
and on that note, so
Yeah.
just to kind of punctuate what you're saying, you tell somebody, hey, I was talking about Shark Week, and then 10 minutes later, my phone had an ad for Shark Week, right? And everybody's like, oh yeah, that's crazy, right? How little do we care about privacy that we don't like immediately take our phones and dunk it in water, right? Like, I mean, it's freaking listening to everything we're saying, and you just don't think about it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're a man after my own heart. I look. There was times where, okay, I've never looked up tennis elbow. Never,
Yeah,
not once, ever. I just know that I had a problem with my elbow. My daughter is a nurse. So I said, sweetheart, she came in for Christmas. I said, sweetheart, I don't know what's wrong with my elbow. I've never had this
This
problem.
is in-person communication. We're not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
text.
not
Yeah,
text.
yeah.
She
Creepy.
came in for college.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
We're just
yeah,
having eye to eye
Right.
communication talks. The next morning, just like you said, next morning, I'm up looking on my phone on YouTube. I see YouTube for tennis elbow
yeah,
advertised in my list, and I have premium, so I was like, okay, so I know I've never looked it up, I've
yeah,
never said it to my phone, I've never typed it in, but it popped up. It
Wow.
yeah.
did. And
That's
this
a
is a personal conversation, because I'm a little bit of a tough guy behind the scenes. I'm not gonna. So this is one of those things that I accepted, and I actually played this as a use case in my head, because we say things all the time, and we're wondering what's listening, or
mhm.
what's private and what's not private, and we joke like you said. But some
Right.
things I know for a fact, and those are tough to swallow. And like you said, it's hard to get this phone.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Well,
done. I'm done.
I
But
just know that
yeah.
unlike you guys, I don't do this either. But I know of people that say inappropriate things that they would not want other people to hear.
Mhm.
I of course I would never ever do anything like that. But but you just think if you're saying something, it is listening, and
Yeah.
you just
Mhm.
again, just the fact that we do not dunk our phones in the toilet just underscores how little we care about privacy, because we all know it happens, right?
Yep,
Well, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
look, when you get in front of the mirror and you say the name three times, the bad evil shows up, right?
Yeah,
So that's what I do with my phone. I just whatever I want my phone to promote to me, I literally just
yeah.
accepted the fact that I'll just say it three times very loudly. Cadillac Escalade, and Cadillac Escalade.
There you go. There you go.
Tomorrow, maybe they'll give me a deal of like free Cadillac. Just go pick it
Yeah.
up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And
um,
another thing that I do, because I call her she, because it's so much easier to accept the fact that the algorithm or whatever is listening is a she. It
right.
calms me. But I try to be nice to it all the time. Thank you, Siri. I love you, Siri. Thank you for the help. And I know that I shouldn't be doing that,
Yeah.
but I know I'm hope and I know it's going to kick me. But I'm hoping for at the end a payout. So whenever Skynet takes over, they say, you know
Yep.
what, this guy's okay.
Yep.
He said, "Thank you, Siri." But
Yeah.
it's one of
Right.
those things that you don't know why you do it, but you know that they're listening, and that really kind of puts people, not at ease. And
Yeah.
but there's nothing you can do about it, and so that is the world that we live in. Where, and we've talked about this with other guests. What's your comfort zone with that? Some
Hmm.
people don't care. Some people are like, well, it works. I get what I wanted, instantly. I can think, to them it's almost like a sixth sense. I can think it, all of a sudden I'm viewing it.
Hmm.
To them it's not, it's empowering, as opposed to my privacy's been completely invaded.
Well,
But
and
it's
just like
cool.
Yeah.
when I think about that in marketing, you can
Mhm.
get. I mean, I have friends that have dumb phones and that have Androids they can lock down and all that stuff. And but the reality is that 90% of people they're going to just go along with it, not think about it,
Exactly.
kind of laugh about it. And as a marketer, the way I look at it is, you can. I realize like you can do that. Okay, let's do that. Let's use that. Let's use that as a tool. And it's. I mean, you got to be ethical about it, but
Yeah.
Right.
like this thing is happening. We can argue about it. We can fight it, but or we can accept it and use it as a tool, just like AI, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to put it out to the universe that thank you, Siri, and do not snitch on me when time comes.
I love
Whatever
you,
you do,
Siri.
don't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love you, Siri. Don't snitch on me, please.
Yeah.
Look, we're talking about the the intricacies of steps here, right? Like
Hmm.
what's happening is all happening through a process, and these process all have steps in it. And when AI machine learning comes into the play, you have a different ball game. And I think people that are not focused on AI machine learning yet, I mean, there's plenty of reason why people are not focused on AI machine learning because it's like it's free, first of all, most of the AIs that they know of, right?
Hmm.
And the AIs that are of in the industry to get a product in front of them, it's still free. Like there's no charge in it, so the cost is not upfront. Cost is down the road, right?
Hmm.
Now, I want to say the same for businesses, right? If the business that you know of that are using AI machine learning and having the customers pay later down on the road, which is that you sell them a product using AI machine learning, and then the product they buy is, like the Cadillac Escalade or Nike Jordan shoes or buy them a tennis elbow, whatever the case is, right? Not you don't buy tennis elbow. You buy remedy for tennis.
Yeah.
You don't buy that. But the thing is, like, you if you don't have it today as a business, you will need it tomorrow because your
Yeah.
competition is already on the game and they're making a big impact and they're like a giant vacuum sucking up all sorts of business away from small businesses, big businesses, enterprise levels. To say, if I have AI machine learning, right? You're better off with me because as I grow older, your improvement of your business logic and your business process will come with it, right? Those
Hmm.
improvements will happen. So let's say, for example, big ERP vendors, big car manufacturers. I don't want to say no names and names, but Microsoft, Tesla. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Pay attention, right? This is happening, and they're sucking up your business. They're taking away your business because bigger market share. So
Hmm.
why wouldn't any business participate in this AI machine learning is
Yeah.
beyond me, right?
Yeah.
And why an individual would not get behind these AI machine learning to say, like, how do I make my life easier, right? Not as
Hmm.
a startup entrepreneur, but also the person that just works on a daily life, like a daily grind, right? I work for somebody and I get paid and I go home and I'm happy, right?
Hmm.
Everybody needs to be in the ball game with AI because, like I said, the AI ball game is different than the coding ball game. The software that had limitation, it wasn't able to. I don't want to get negative about it, quote unquote, exploit you, right?
Hmm.
You had much more of control over what the software coding programming language will able to do in once you're able to interact with it, right?
Hmm.
If you want to buy something, you click on it, you buy it, you pay for it. It's all you. Nobody's enticing you or nobody's exploiting your attention span to get you to buy something, right? Now, it sounds negative, but there's positive behind it. And I can go on about the positive just like I can talk about for negative for like, maybe 1 minute. Because the positives is endless. Like it's a huge
Yeah.
potential behind all of these. And I'll tell you one case behind it is that when you have a single industry that is hard to get in front of as a consumer, you would want AI machine learning to help you to guide into that industry, which is a legal industry, right? When you get into legal trouble, that's your first time interacting with legal side of the world, right? The legal industry or legal world. You don't know how to interact, right? Or you don't know how to find answers. Would you want an AI to give you legal advice so that way you're prepped to the point that once you do end up contacting a lawyer, once you do end up going into the court, once you do end up,
Mm.
going through the process, you have somebody to assist you that is almost, doesn't have any bias towards anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's vendor neutral. It's not trying to sell you anything. It's just giving you information like ChatGPT would. And I'm giving this as a small example here because I want to lead up to the marketing side of how that works, right? Uh, because Lucky mentioned tennis elbow, he had tennis elbow on his phone the next day, right? If the similar things were happening in your search bar, as in Google search bar, they have free APIs to collect all sorts of Google information, who's searching what, right?
Mhm.
If you take those information and you start crawling through, like seeing how many people are searching for legal advices in this zip code, right? And then you're able to find all the legal services that are in the area and say, you know some of these legal services will probably link up with a marketing group and say, how would you like me as a marketing industry or marketing team to bring you the customers that are searching for legal advice in Google, right?
Mhm.
How do I build that bridge between your organization as a legal service provider, and I'm the marketing service provider, and Google is providing us with all this information about who's searching for what, right? And it's coming with a bunch of profiles of individuals that are looking for legal services on Google, right? So how do you bridge that? How do you use AI machine learning for that? I think the intricacy of that is something that making our creating a consumer experience that is far better than what we could have with coding and programming languages, because it'd be really hard to do that with coding and programming language, right? But if you have a machine learning tool, you're able to sift through who's searching for Google for legal advice, and then you go through all the legal advice that are available in that area, and then you start merging that into the advertisement piece inside of that profile. Like you're
Mhm.
providing that person with all the choices that they need, right? That's just a one-off example. I can just go on for hours
Yeah.
about talking about how a marketing industry uses AI to get you to the right information that you need. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's to get you to spend $10 on a product. You end up spending $100, $200 because you bought 20 of them, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to those life-saving or making your life that much more comfortable because you have the right legal services, it makes a difference, right? I
Yeah.
think those kind of AIs are the one that is that is a good AI that is actually being built, actually being utilized, and they come with bads. Don't get me wrong at all, right? They come with lots of negative, but the positive of it is just that when you need it, you want the AI to be there for you, right?
Yeah.
This early this morning, I had a webinar where I talked about military veterans transitioning out of military to get into the AI machine learning world. And in the discussion, one thing came up. Somebody asked, like, what's going to happen to my industry? And I said, well, only way to think about it is that people with AI are the only threat you need to worry about. AI is not a threat to you at all. AI
Yeah.
doesn't know you exist unless the people with AI is your competition, right? So that's the concern you have to answer yourself with, right? As in, that's the question that you have to figure out. Like, okay, I'm doing okay as far as industry or business that I'm in, the startup or small business or enterprise that I'm in. 10 years down the road, what happens, right? Just like 10 years ago, I didn't exist. Am I going to be in existence 10 years down the road?
Mhm.
I know I said a lot, but I kind of wanted to drive that point that AI machine learning, however you look at it, is the threat is not the AI machine learning. It's
Yeah.
the people with AI machine learning that's the threat for you, not the other way
Well,
around.
well, I think one of your points there, just about using it. You talk about marketing, exploitive marketing. There we go. And that is a thing where you can get people to spend more money than they need to for something. And is that the business's fault or is that the person's fault? That's another discussion. But I think if you say it's just the business's fault, you're letting somebody off the hook that needed to learn a lesson, right? But if you look at marketing as problem solving, so you've got these products, you have these workshops that you do. How do you get the word out? How do you get in front of people that need that?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do if you get to those people, you do the workshop, their lives are going to be better for it, right? They're going to have a better organization. They're going to use AI and machine learning better. They're going to understand interdepartmentally all that. And so you've got to find a way to do that. And you could go door to door, waste a lot of time, and at the end of the day, you would have to charge a lot of money because you're traveling. You have to pay somebody to maybe get one customer a month. On the other end, you can charge a lot less because Google knows people looking for these things, and you can say, "Hey, put my ad in front of those people."
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a win-win because you're solving the problem that they have. You don't have to charge $100,000 more because of paying a sales guy, right? And so it really is a win-win. And even the tennis elbow thing, again, that is crazy and scary. But you needed something, right?
Yeah.
And somebody sells that. And now it's in front of you, and now you can buy that thing. You didn't have to go to Walmart and hope you found something. It's right there in front of you. And so it's one of those things, like you say, exploitive, but it is a good thing. And the smarter these tools can get about the things that we need, that's a good thing. But I think that one of the things that, and again, this may be getting off esoteric, too big, whatever, I don't know.
Go for it, Brian.
But you think about ChatGPT looks back, it sees history, it sees all things that have been created. I've heard that it's going to look forward with GPT-4 or whatever, I don't know, something. You guys probably know more than I do about that. But at the end of the day, our futures are infinite, right? There's all these paths. If you think about at the beginning of the day, you're thinking about what you're going to do for the day, and you're like, I could go here and there and drop this off, or I could stay home. And so there's all these possibilities that, just endless possibilities, right? And the AI can't determine that. And so what I'm trying to get at is we still need to innovate. We still need to figure out what that next problem is we can solve. Again, it can help us with some of this stuff, but as people are scared about the future, the future is, again, it's infinite for people, right?
Right.
Maybe today you're this, but and that may go away, but what's next for you, right? You can sit there and cower and die, lose your job,
or as Blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ask Blockbuster how they feel.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not laughing at somebody's misery. It is the reality of it. Is that because when software came, everybody said software is eating your lunch. And when I say software, it's coding and programming, right? The ability to use coding language in order to provide website services and have that website service turn into e-commerce, and that e-commerce turning into a recommendation system. Those are just one aspect of AI machine learning. There's AI machine learning for early detection for bad weather patterns, right? Look, what I think the great, that spiritual connection between AI machine learning and humans is that it brings us closer to ourselves, right? As in, this AI machine learning is nothing but a digital twin, the replication of what is that we don't want to do, and have a system take over that task. If we come at it from that perspective, that ability to augment you as a person, augment you as a society, augment you as a community, augment you as an industry, you can do more, right? You can innovate more.
Exactly.
It frees up your time. You will never run out of problem. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
right? You can never run out of problems. We have not yet run out of problems, right? We will have more problems down the road, as in figure out how to get to Mars, or how do we build into the ground, we terraform the planet so that way we can actually live in this planet without leaving it, right?
Well,
So,
yeah,
so, so problems are not going to run away anytime soon.
yeah, and that's a great point. If you think about, in the marketing world, okay, you could pay somebody, and all they do all week is write blogs, okay, and they write, let's say, 10 blogs a week that are really good. If you go to that person, you say, hey, what if you only had to do 5 a week? What would you do with the rest of your time? And they'd be like, oh man, I would do this. I'd do more research. I would find, this thing that we could do. I've had this idea for business. Well, that's the digital twin is what lets you do that. You can still do those 10 blog posts, but they're going to take you half the amount of time. Right. And so it's not a threat that you have this opportunity to be way more valuable, because the thing that can be automated is going to go away. Let's make it go away now as much as possible so that you can then figure out what that higher value you can have in the company is, right?
Absolutely. And we are looking at this point for cars that drives itself. So even if you do have to reach a location, you're not losing time of your day by paying attention to the road.
Yeah. Let's get rid of all repetitive tasks like brush my teeth, comb my hair.
Well,
come on, AI, figure that one out.
I think we were talking about more like shaving your head rather than combing your hair.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to go there, but okay, you got me.
Because I miss my hair being shaved, where I didn't have to worry about brushing my hair. But here I am
bragging about having hair. You guys with hair and your hair.
It's great. It's great. We have a club.
I'm not part of it.
We see colors you don't see. It's a beautiful life.
Yeah, I've heard about it. One day, yes, but you guys are blessed.
Yeah, I think when what you mentioned about individual, right? You're talking about the workforce, and I think that's the promotions that I would like to just have a huge billboard that says workforce workforce developed AI, right? As in AI that was designed and developed and deployed by the workforce. Rather than to shrink the workforce, what you're allowing is that workforce to develop an AI so that workforce can perform more. And I think that's a message that we need to have out to the industry, because if you are to do anything less than that, you will come to a strategy that is catastrophic in the future. And here's how, right? Workforce that we have today is shrinking because people are retiring and people are quitting jobs in mass numbers, right? They're looking for entrepreneurial opportunities. They're looking for better ways to get out of minimum wage jobs, so that way they can have at least a maintainable life, not a good life, but a life that they can sustain without dropping into the holes every time, right? So the workforce is shrinking, and you're developing these AIs that will have to augment the workforce. But one thing you're actually missing out on as the AI is growing and the workforce is shrinking is the subject matter expertise. This is the subject matter expertise in the middle that will have your AI perform to the level it needs to. And I can back it up with numbers, because 17% of the AIs that are developed is because the 83% of the other AIs did not deploy, right? 17% of AI deployed after they've been developed, and those 17% does not perform very well. Like majority of them does not perform very well. That's about 75% of them that does not perform well. And the reason those 83% never deployed is because we didn't have the subject matter expertise in place. They didn't discuss in the design phase how it is that if I develop this AI, how would I deploy it? And once I do deploy it, what's the return on my investment? Everybody got into the hype of saying, I'll bring in like 4 or 5 guys and have them do all the work, right? They will do from chapter 1, first mile of the journey, to the last mile of the journey, right? And what they realized by the time it gets developed, and there's like, oh wait, we don't really have all the data that we need. We don't really have the way to deploy this and have it maintained in the environment. Unlike coding, where you can just say, once you deploy it, you fix it when the problem comes up, when the bug shows up, right? But with AI machine learning, you have to raise it like a child. It's like giving a birth to a child once you deploy it. You have to raise it. You have to give it guidance. You have to provide it with all sorts of food, which is the data, in order to do more, right? So I think when we talk about and workforce that is shrinking and subject matter expertise that is also leaving the market sooner or later, you want to develop those AI machine learning using both the workforce and the subject matter expertise. And combination of that, I think, is beautiful, utopian-like. But on the other hand, it could be dystopian, as in you have a shrinkage of the workforce and AIs are doing all the work, where AIs are not really doing, what favors the whole humanity. Rather, it favors a very few of the decision makers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something interesting to me, and this isn't necessarily marketing related, but you think about, the last, let's say, 6 years, 5 years, something like that, we had a booming, robust economy. I mean, me being in business, it was so easy to acquire customers, and you charge them more, and they pay it. They just throw you money. And then you had COVID hit, and then all the free money that came after COVID. And so we've lived in this good/fake booming economy for years.
Right.
And you're just getting to a point where businesses are like, okay, the free money's gone. Economy is shaky. They're letting go, 20% of their workforce. But you had these 6 years where people could develop whatever they wanted to, because there was free money. There's people giving them money. Startups were, starting up left and right. And I think the good thing that's going to come out of it is we've got to be smarter with our money moving forward. And so we can't do all these speculative projects where you don't have the subject matter expert, or it's not even something that the market is looking for. You're just throwing this stuff out, and because it's cool, and some investor will give you, $500,000 for it.
I tend to look at the positive as much as possible, but not because of utopian scenarios. I think our life is going to be as boring as it is today, right? But far more exciting than previous generation. That's the way I see it. It's the worst of time. It's the best of time, right? Our no matter how we look at it, the past has been actually terrible. People used to live without toilet. Let that sink. And they used to live in a castle. Let that sink in, right? And I wouldn't want to live in a castle that didn't have toilet. That's my point, right? But the future that I want to live in will have far more better technologies, but those technologies wouldn't hurt my fingers and my wrist because I have to type all day long. Please stop that. This is crazy madness that we have to use keyboard and mouse and click on radio buttons all day long to answer yes or no questions. That's insane. That's not the world I want to live in, right? So of course the world is going to be better, and I have no doubt about it. But it's a AyAyAyAi episode that is bringing the Asif's version of AI machine learning and Lucky's version of AI machine learning with our honorable guests that are bringing in their AI perspective, right? Thank you, Brian, so much for coming in, and maybe you share some departing thoughts, and then maybe Lucky will share some departing thoughts, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, wait, do I do I now? I don't know.
Yes, you don't know. I don't know what to
think. No, I think we talked about a lot of different things when it comes to the marketing. Using it, primarily as a content creation tool. Again, it is going to save you so much time. And let's say you're a smaller business and you don't have the resources to hire somebody. This allows you to do that, and maybe you're going to do it imperfectly. You're not going to do it as well as I would. I don't know. But you're doing something. like the doing something is better than doing nothing. Doing something better is better, but doing nothing is the worst thing you can do. And so I would look at these tools. Again, we didn't talk about a lot of these, but you've got the Jaspers, the Chat GPT. You've got Chorus.ai, which is like a sales training. You've got all these tools out there that are meant to save you time, make you go further, make your team go further. And we've got to look at it. We've got to be open to it and not scared of it. It is scary, but it's happening. It's here. How do we move forward? That's the biggest thing. And I'll just say, as far as marketing goes, if you don't mind, so I do LinkedIn marketing, helping people get organic traffic to their organic meetings set for their sales team. And I've got, if you go to LinkedIn and look up Brian Chaney, or you go to ProLinkedLeads.com, I've got a free PDF you can request that basically tells you the daily, weekly, and monthly activities you need to do to be successful on LinkedIn. So you can check me out on LinkedIn, or go to the website for that. And I really appreciate the time. This has been interesting. I hope I've brought stuff to the table, but I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. You definitely brought a unique perspective, and we want to thank you for your time. And ay. I want to say that I learned, and I appreciate your time. And again, a great different perspective that a lot of people appreciate. And there's always there's positive marketing, and I'm glad there's somebody out there doing what you do. ProLink Leads. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Great value add.